Columbus, Ohio, a city of progress, a place of history, a beacon of modern life. But beneath the thriving streets and towering skyscrapers lies something much older, much darker. A hidden world of restless spirits, lingering shadows, and whispers from beyond the grave. For centuries, the city has been a silent witness to untold tragedies, its buildings absorbing the echoes of those who refuse to move on. Some places in Columbus are more than just haunted, they are cursed. From eerie cemeteries where statues scream in the night to grand hotels where spectral figures never checked out, these locations hold stories that chill the spine and defy logic. Have you ever felt a cold touch on your shoulder when no one was there? Have you heard a whisper in an empty room, calling your name? Tonight, we pull back the veil between the living and the dead. We will step inside the places where history and horror collide, where shadows watch in silence, and where the past is very much alive. Welcome to the most haunted places in Columbus. Stay with me, if you dare. The Ohio State Reformatory, nestled in the small town of Mansfield, Ohio, is one of the most haunted places in the United States. Though it was originally built in the late 1800s with the intention of rehabilitating young offenders, the prison quickly became a symbol of suffering and despair. What was supposed to be a place for reform turned into a house of torment, filled with stories of overcrowding, abuse, and cruelty that haunted the prison for decades. As the gates of the reformatory creaked open, the once majestic building stood as a grim reminder of the horrors that took place within its stone walls. The prison's architectural grandeur hides the dark history that lurked beneath. Built in the Gothic style, with towering spires and towering stone walls, the structure is an imposing sight, meant to inspire fear as much as it was to imprison. But what it couldn't contain were the restless spirits of those who suffered there, their souls trapped forever in the cold, oppressive walls. When the Ohio State Reformatory opened its doors, it was meant to be a progressive institution, a place to reform troubled youth. But the reality was far different. Overcrowding became a constant issue, and what was meant to be a rehabilitation center soon turned into a cruel, oppressive environment. Inmates were subjected to brutal treatment, and reports of physical and psychological abuse were rampant. Many young offenders, thrown into the system at a tender age, spent years in the hellish conditions of the prison, leaving them scarred physically and mentally. One of the most infamous locations within the prison is the solitary confinement area. Those who were sent there were left to rot in their own isolation, with nothing but darkness and the sound of their own thoughts to keep them company. It is said that the dark energy that lingered in the solitary confinement cells still haunts the area today. Visitors and employees alike have reported strange occurrences, cold spots, disembodied whispers, and the feeling of unseen hands brushing against them. The prison's shadowy hallways are notorious for being a hotbed of paranormal activity. Many people who visited the reformatory have claimed to have seen shadowy figures darting through the corridors, vanishing just as quickly as they appear. The figure of a man with a long coat, often seen wandering the old halls, is one of the most commonly reported apparitions. Some claim he is the spirit of an old guard, while others believe it's the restless soul of an inmate who never left. Whatever his identity, the figure's presence adds to the already unsettling atmosphere. However, it's not just shadow figures that visitors report encountering. Many have claimed to see full-bodied apparitions of former inmates. One such story involves a group of paranormal investigators who were touring the prison in the late hours of the night. As they passed by one of the old cell blocks, they heard the distinct sound of footsteps echoing behind them, though no one was there. When they turned around, they saw a ghostly figure standing at the end of the hallway, an inmate dressed in the old prison garb, staring back at them with hollow, lifeless eyes. The figure didn't move, simply disappearing into the darkness when they blinked. The Ohio State Reformatory is no stranger to skeptics. For many, the idea of spirits and hauntings was something they dismissed as nonsense, until they stepped foot inside. One such skeptic, a local man who had heard the tales of the prison's eerie reputation, decided to visit the reformatory with a group of friends. They walked through the cold, empty hallways, laughing at the stories they had heard. That is, until they reached the infamous solitary confinement cells. As they wandered into the darkened area, a sudden chill filled the air. The temperature dropped several degrees, and one of the group members felt a cold, invisible hand wrap around his wrist. The man froze, his heart pounding in his chest, as his friends laughed, thinking it was a prank. But as they turned to leave, they saw something that made their blood run cold. The walls of the solitary confinement cells seemed to pulse with a strange, unnatural energy. And for the first time, the skeptic felt the heavy weight of the prison's dark history pressing down on him. The group quickly made their way out of the reformatory, but the experience left them shaken. The skeptic, who once ridiculed the idea of ghosts, walked away from that night with a newfound respect for the prison's haunted reputation. The Ohio State Reformatory is not a place you visit lightly. For those brave enough to explore its haunted halls, there is a lingering sense of unease, an energy that cannot be ignored. The walls seem to whisper the stories of the past, and the restless souls who once walked the prison's halls still seem to roam the corridors, searching for peace. But whether they will ever find it is a question that remains unanswered. So if you decide to visit, don't wander too far alone, you may not come back. Nestled in the heart of Columbus's historic district stands the Thurber House, a charming Victorian-style home with an air of old-world grace. From the outside, the house seems like a perfect place for literary inspiration. Its brick facade, wide windows, and inviting porch create an almost idyllic atmosphere. However, appearances can be deceiving, and this home, once the residence of James Thurber, the beloved American writer and cartoonist, carries with it a dark and unsettling history that many are still trying to understand. James Thurber, known for his humorous cartoons and stories, lived in the house during the early 1900s. Though he was never one to shy away from the supernatural in his writing, Thurber's personal experiences with the paranormal were no laughing matter. He reportedly saw strange things happening in the house, things that were beyond logical explanation. Most notably, he claimed to have encountered a tall, shadowy figure with hollow eyes that would appear in the dimly lit hallways of his home. Thurber described the figure as unnervingly silent. Its presence felt more than seen, sending shivers down his spine whenever it appeared. While it's easy to dismiss such accounts as figments of an overactive imagination, Thurber wasn't the only one to experience the eerie happenings at the Thurber house. Over the years, countless visitors and residents of the house have reported strange occurrences, some more disturbing than others. Books, which once sat neatly on the shelves, have been known to fly off on their own, crashing to the ground with a loud bang, only to remain open at odd angles, as if they were trying to tell their own ghostly tales. Perhaps even more unnerving are the reports of phantom laughter echoing through the halls. Visitors, often alone in the house, have heard soft chuckles or full-out bouts of laughter coming from seemingly nowhere. Some have even claimed to hear the sound of typewriter keys clicking in the middle of the night, an odd and haunting sound that seems to come from an unseen writer who never sleeps. But the most terrifying of all the stories comes from the many who have stayed overnight in the house, where they claim to have had encounters with shadowy figures that stand at the foot of their bed in the middle of the night. These dark silhouettes seem to be watching, waiting, but never moving or making a sound. The feeling of being observed, of not being alone, lingers long after the figure disappears, leaving the visitors disturbed and uncertain whether they had dreamed it or experienced something far more sinister. Some believe these spirits are the muses of Thurber's past, lingering in the house, still trying to inspire creativity, while others suspect something darker at play. Could these shadows be the restless souls of individuals long forgotten, trapped in the home for reasons unknown? Or could they be tied to the very fabric of the house itself, where the boundary between the living and the dead is blurred? The Thurber house has become a place of fascination for those seeking a glimpse into the life of one of America's most celebrated writers. But for all its literary allure, it's clear that the house holds more than just stories on its pages. It holds the memories of those who came before, their spectral presences still roaming the halls, a reminder that some stories never truly end. If you're brave enough to visit, just remember, you might not be alone in those rooms, and whatever you do, don't look too closely at the shadows. They may just be watching you. Green Lawn Cemetery, a sprawling, historic burial ground in Columbus, Ohio, is not just a final resting place for the dead. It is said to be a hot spot for supernatural activity, where the boundary between the living and the dead blurs. With its centuries-old tombstones and ancient trees casting long, twisted shadows, the cemetery holds an eerie allure, drawing visitors from far and wide. But for those who know its dark history, Green Lawn is more than just a peaceful sanctuary. It is a place where restless spirits refuse to rest. One of the most infamous legends surrounding the cemetery is that of the Lady in Grey. She is often seen wandering the graveyard at night, her figure barely visible in the moonlight. Dressed in a flowing gray gown, she is said to glide silently between the tombstones, her face obscured by the shadows. Many who have ventured into Green Lawn after dark claim to have seen her, only for her to vanish into thin air when approached. Some believe she is the spirit of a woman whose life ended tragically, her soul unable to find peace. Others say she is a mourning mother, forever searching for her lost child among the graves. But the Lady in Grey is far from the only ghostly presence at Green Lawn. There is another, far more chilling legend that sends shivers down the spine of anyone who hears it, the tale of the Screaming Angel. This eerie statue, located in a secluded corner of the cemetery, is said to come to life at midnight. According to legend, at the stroke of 12, the stone angel lets out a blood-curdling scream that echoes through the cemetery, a sound so terrifying that it can stop the heart of anyone who hears it. Some say that the scream is a warning, a reminder of the sorrow and grief that permeate the cemetery, while others believe it is the cry of an angel mourning the souls lost within the graveyard's boundaries. The Screaming Angel statue is not just terrifying for its scream, but also for the unsettling power it seems to hold over those who dare to stare into its eyes for too long. Visitors have reported feeling a deep sense of sorrow and despair, as if the statue's eyes are seeing into their very souls. The sensation is overwhelming, as if someone, is watching from beyond the grave, waiting for them to break their gaze. It's said that those who linger too long in the angel's presence are never quite the same. Their spirits become heavy, their thoughts clouded, and an overwhelming sadness follows them long after they leave the cemetery. Perhaps the most unsettling thing about Green Lawn Cemetery is the whispers that are said to echo through the graves at night. Those who have visited after dark report hearing voices carried by the wind, soft, unintelligible whispers that seem to be calling their name. It's almost as if the spirits of the departed are trying to communicate, trying to make their presence known. For those who hear the whispers, the feeling is impossible to shake, a sense that they are not alone, that the cemetery's inhabitants are watching, waiting, and perhaps, even trying to reach out from beyond the grave. If you ever find yourself walking through Green Lawn after dark, you'd be wise to keep your senses sharp. The cemetery holds more than just the bones of the dead. It holds the restless souls of those who remain, their stories unfinished, their grief unresolved. Whether it's the Lady in Grey, the Screaming Angel, or the whispers that follow you as you walk, Green Lawn Cemetery is a place where the veil between life and death is thin, and the spirits of the past still linger, refusing to rest. The Great Southern Hotel, now known as the Westin Columbus, has stood as a symbol of luxury and sophistication since the late 1800s. Its grand chandeliers, lavish furnishings, and historic charm have drawn travelers from all walks of life. But behind the elegance lies something far more unsettling. Some guests who check and never truly leave, and the spirits that wander its halls have turned this hotel into one of the most haunted places in Columbus. One of the most famous entities to haunt the Great Southern Hotel is known as the Lady in Grey. She has been seen gliding through the hallways in vintage clothing, her long, flowing dress swaying as if caught in an unseen breeze. Those who have encountered her describe a sorrowful expression on her face, as though she is searching for something, or someone, long lost to time. She never speaks, never interacts, but when you lock eyes with her, a deep, unsettling chill creeps through your body. And just as suddenly as she appears, she vanishes, leaving nothing behind but a lingering feeling of melancholy. The hotel's staff have grown accustomed to strange occurrences, though they refuse to speak too much about them. Elevators operate on their own, often stopping at random floors in the dead of night with no one inside. Housekeepers hear soft knocking sounds coming from empty rooms, yet when they open the doors, they find nothing but undisturbed linens and the heavy silence of an unoccupied space. Even the grand lobby, usually bustling with life, has an eerie stillness after dark, as if unseen eyes are watching from the shadows. One particular room on the upper floors has gained a sinister reputation. Guests who have stayed there report waking up in the middle of the night to a chilling sensation, cold fingers running through their hair. Some have even felt the weight of something unseen pressing onto the bed beside them, as if an invisible presence had decided to rest for the night. Those who have dared to open their eyes at that moment claim to have seen a shadowy figure standing at the foot of their bed, watching, before fading away into nothingness. One such guest, a businessman visiting from out of town, checked in late one evening. Exhausted, he quickly fell asleep, only to awaken to the sensation of icy fingertips trailing along his scalp. Paralyzed with fear, he squeezed his eyes shut, willing himself to believe it was just a dream. But then came the whisper, soft, almost pleading, right beside his ear. He bolted upright, turning on every light in the room, only to find it completely empty. He checked out the next morning, vowing never to return. Despite its haunting reputation, the Great Southern Hotel remains a beloved landmark, its ghostly residents blending seamlessly with the living. But for those who choose to stay the night, one thing is certain: no matter how plush the accommodations, you may not be sleeping alone. The Ohio Theater stands as one of Columbus's most breathtaking landmarks, its golden balconies and ornate chandeliers a testament to a bygone era of grandeur. With its rich crimson curtains and elegant decor, the theater has hosted some of the greatest performances in history. But beneath the glamour and applause, something else lingers, something unseen yet always present. Long after the final curtain falls and the audience has dispersed, the Ohio Theater is far from empty. Phantom footsteps echo through the aisles, soft at first, then growing louder as if someone is pacing the darkened theater. The sound often comes from the balcony, where a shadowy figure is sometimes seen watching the stage, unmoving and silent. Those who have dared to investigate find nothing but empty seats and an unsettling stillness that prickles the skin. Many believe this apparition is the spirit of a former stagehand who met an untimely end within the theater's walls. Though details of his death remain murky, his presence is undeniable. Some say he was crushed by a falling set piece, while others whisper that he fell from the catwalk above, his last moments spent watching the stage from the very place he now haunts. Despite his tragic fate, he is not believed to be malevolent. In fact, actors and staff claim he watches rehearsals, ensuring that the show always goes on. Beyond the balcony, other strange occurrences plague the theater. Actors report hearing their names whispered from the wings when no one is there. Crew members working late at night feel an icy breeze pass by, followed by the sensation of being watched from the darkness. Stage lights flicker without reason, and props have been known to move on their own, as if unseen hands are still adjusting the set long after rehearsals have ended. One particularly chilling encounter involved a performer who was practicing alone late one night. As she ran through her lines, she heard soft applause from somewhere in the empty theater. Thinking it was a fellow cast member playing a prank, she peered into the seats, only to see the faint outline of a man standing in the balcony, watching her. His figure was indistinct, almost like a shadow in the dim light. As she locked eyes with him, the figure slowly faded into the darkness. The applause ceased. She fled the stage, her heart pounding. But perhaps the most unsettling experience of all happens to unsuspecting guests. Audience members have reported feeling a sudden chill wash over them mid-performance, as if an unseen presence has taken the seat beside them. Others claim to feel the lightest touch on their arm or shoulder, a sensation so fleeting that they question whether it even happened. Yet those who know the Ohio Theater's history believe otherwise. If you ever find yourself seated in the Grand Theater, enjoying a performance, and feel a cold breath on your neck, know that you are not alone. Someone, or something, still lingers, ensuring that the magic of the stage never truly fades. Columbus may seem like an ordinary city, a place of bustling streets, towering buildings, and the hum of everyday life. But beneath its modern skyline, the past refuses to be forgotten. The echoes of history are not just found in books or museums. They linger in the dark corners of old hotels, beneath the flickering lights of grand theaters, and in the silent, mist-covered pathways of ancient cemeteries. Some spirits remain tethered to these places, forever wandering in the spaces between life and death. Are they searching for justice? Perhaps their stories were cut short, their fates sealed by tragedy, leaving them restless and unseen among us. Or maybe they are simply trapped in an endless loop, forced to relive their final moments, over and over again. Whatever the reason, one thing is certain: Columbus is not as empty as it seems. The next time you walk through the city at night, take a moment to listen. That faint whisper behind you? That fleeting shadow in the corner of your eye? That sudden chill raising the hairs on your arms? Maybe it's just the wind, or maybe it's something watching, waiting, lingering just beyond the veil. Have you ever experienced something paranormal in Columbus? A strange noise, an eerie presence, or something you simply can't explain? Share your stories in the comments, if you dare. Who knows? Your tale might just prove that the spirits of Columbus are still among us. And if you enjoyed this journey through the haunted history of the city, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We'll be uncovering even more ghostly legends and eerie encounters in the future, and you won't want to miss what's lurking in the shadows.